Hi, Rohlfing here. You're watching a tutorial about my personal interpretation of the song Alternate Routes by the band Seis to Solar. So if you haven't seen that, maybe you want to check it out first. Before we get started, let me say a few things. First of all, I'm aware that there are strict rules of what to play and what not to play in traditional Afro-Cuban music. However, I do my little hybrid here, which obviously is a result of my studies, but also a result of my musical influences. So when I'm playing, I am doing that with a high respect to the African and to the Cuban heritage and culture. With the same respect, I'm recognizing that there are, let's say, different truths around. For example, somebody from New York might have a totally different approach to the same style than somebody from Puerto Rico. And you know what? That's totally okay, because everybody is right in his or her own world. Second, we all know that there's no way of learning a style by watching video tutorials. So if you are serious, you have to really get into it, get the best teacher you can get, listen to the music, learn about the culture, and guess what? Play with real musicians. Last but not least, I'd like to say that I decided not to go to the percussion instruments itself, like the congas and timbales, because that would be out of the scope of this video. For the same reasons, I decided not to start from scratch here. So if you want to learn the basics, get again the best teacher you can get who can get you on the track. Alright, let's get started. The song Alternate Routes is by the band Seis to Solar, which was founded in 1982 by the Cuban-born actor and singer Ruben Blades, who first moved to New York in 1968. The band was led by Ruben Blades and the drummer Robbie Amin. The piano player, arranger and producer of the band, Oscar Hernandez, emigrated from Puerto Rico in the 40s and was raised in the Bronx. So we are not talking about a pure Afro-Cuban traditional song here. It's more a mixture of Afro-Cuban, Caribbean and some New York kind of fusion thing in there. The song starts off with a two-bar phrase on the piano like this. Well, we just heard a two-bar phrase by the piano, accompanied by a clave. I was playing a 2-3 song clave that you can probably already distinguish from a rumba clave. But maybe you are asking yourself, do I have to play rumba or son? And when do I have to play 2-3 or 3-2? Well, to answer the first question first, certain styles belong to certain claves. For example, a song clave usually is going with a mambo, or a rumba clave usually works, for example, with the Mozambique or with the rumba wawanco. The direction, again, is a question of how the rhythmic arrangement of the song is working. If you listen to this particular song, the piano part starts like that. So, there's no other way in playing a 2-3 son. It really fits perfectly. Along that track, the rest of the arrangement is following. For example, the bass, of course the melody line, how they sing, the whole percussion part. So I'm trying to linking my drum percussion thing within that framework. Actually, I was playing a percussion part, it's called palito, which means little sticks, that actually don't belong in that particular style. It comes from the rumba wawanco, but I like it to play it in there because it's kind of vivid. Let me show you the cascara pattern, because the pattern I was playing, the palito pattern, comes from a cascara pattern. Okay, let me show you that first. Now the cascara is a pattern you play on the shell of the timbale. And I'm playing this on my rim of the tom to get a similar sound. You can play obviously 2-3, 3-2, rumba or son. That doesn't matter. I am playing for you now 2-3 son. You can also play the rumba to it. Sounds like this. Now, the rumba clave again leads me to the palito pattern that I was playing. The palito pattern is a pattern where the rumba clave is falling in the right hand, like this. And you fill out the rest with the left hand. And you're allowed to mess around, sort of. You see, there's a certain wave to it. Well, this actually is a groove that belongs to the rumba wawanko, as I said, but it's kind of nice to play it in there. It gives you a good feeling. Now, also, what am I doing in the bass drum? The bass drum follows a line with the drum that's called bombo drum. The bombo drum is playing the following pattern. You see I'm opening one note in here, and that's the two end of the three part of the clave. Sounds confusing maybe, but for example. You see, and that's a very important note, the two end. You always have this, like if you have and you play this actually in the bass drum. So my palito pattern with this particular bass drum sounds like this. And this is 3-2. Because traditionally it's played that way. However, I have to change it because the whole song, Alternative Roots, is in 2-3. So, also, you can mess around with the bass drum a little more. You can add more notes to it that actually follow along this bombo drum thing, which actually comes from the Arabic groove called malfuf. Boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba. Quite fascinating rhythm if you think about it. So if you play the 2 and the 4, as opposed to the malfuf, who has also the 1 in there, it sounds like this. 2-3. And yes, I left out the 4 in the bass drum in the first bar because it's a 2-bar phrase then and it's more interesting. So that's what I played in this particular part. Coming up is maybe one of the most popular grooves from Cuba. It's called mambo. Mambo is not only groove or rhythm, it's also like a part of a song or a dance. I chose to play one of the most popular variations out of this mambo because there are a lot of variations around, since this variation is on the track. And it's like this. As I said before, to a mambo we have a 2-3 song clave. Sounds like this. I didn't play this on the cowbell for now. I chose to play it on the right cymbal because I will go to the cowbell in a later part of the song. So I do think about my orchestration when I play hi-hat, when I play the rims, when I play my mambo bell, or when I play the cymbal, because I want to have a certain structure in what I'm doing. So next is, what do I do with my left hand or with my foot? Actually, here I'm covering the conga part. For example, the slap is here. Open sound from the conga could be here, there, or here. All together. Or see, this is exactly the conga groove. Now the bass drum again, guess what? We either play the bombo note again, like the 2 and of the 3 part of the clave, or a little bit more. As a matter of fact, in this particular part of the song, the energy is so high, I chose to play like not a backbeat, but like a snare sound, and it sounded like this. I know it's pretty powerful, but I think it fits pretty well in this particular section. Now we are coming to a part where we kind of solo over some kicks, which I will not cover in this particular tutorial because it's not about the soloing, it's about the grooves. The groove or the rhythm that's coming up is very interesting. It's called bomba rhythm. So we actually leave Cuba for a minute, go to Puerto Rico, which is quite strong there. Puerto Rico has a rich history of bomba rhythms. There are many of them around, also in 6/8 by the way. And it comes from the slavery. Those poor slaves, they sang or played this kind of music to escape their desperate lives, so to say. There are basically two drums playing at the bomba, and one of them is playing a sika rhythm, which I will play for you now. And the other one is kind of an accompaniment to a dancer. Since nobody's dancing here, I have to play the other part, which is like this. Now, did you realize something? There it's again, the Malfouf rhythm. It's such a strong rhythm, you won't believe it. I hear it everywhere, whether it be for raga or for Brazilian Baião music, it's everywhere. It's very strong. Maybe I changed the sticking a little bit, but I didn't play any bass drum in there because I want to keep the orchestration a little thinner to get some air for the transition to the chorus. Now this section we are just entering is a lot of fun to play. I would consider this as a chorus section. It has 16 bars and I decided to divide these 16 bars into 2 times 8 bars. In the first 8 bars I'm using a pattern that again is a combination of 2 ideas. The one idea is coming from the bongo bell. The bongo bell is a bell that the bongo player is playing when he's not playing bongos. And again, it's like a tuba phrase that is connected with the clave, in this case the 2/3 son clave. I'll play it for you and add the bass drum to it. Now, you can also do something else in your left hand instead of the clave. You can, for example, go and play the timbale part. Again, I don't have timbales for now. I'll do it for you on the drum set. And it's like this. Or the conga part. The same idea I was using at the mambo section, like this. I will cover the hi-hat later, but I would like to tell you now already, I played half notes on the hi-hat. However, I didn't choose any of these ideas in my left hand for this particular 8-bar section. I decided to play something else, and this is something that comes from another groove, which I will show you now. The next element that I'm using in these particular first 8 bars of the chorus is coming from a very popular groove we probably all know. Is called songo. And songo has been invented actually for drum set by the great Changuito, who was playing percussion and drums in the band Los Van Van, talking about the 70s and 80s. And back then they played kind of traditional Afro-Cuban music that we also call son. So I assume son go could mean it goes to the next step. I would like to show you 2 variations that Changuito's playing. Sounds like this. I like it. It's kind of easy. I also learned, yes, you're allowed to play the one in the bass drum, and I tried to keep it loose. The third approach to this particular songo rhythm is the one that is the most popular. They play it usually in the upper part, and it sounds like this. We're talking about 2-3 rumba clave right here, and there's no need in playing more, because if you add percussion to it like clave and congas, it works. However, I did dare to play the bongo bell to this particular left hand pattern of the songo. And I also choose to play the snare drum instead of the rim, because again it's a powerful section. And I'd like to show it to you quite slow. If you speed it up a little bit and play it in the musical context, we are here. Now I had this thing roll for a minute, so you have an idea that the second part of the chorus is also mambo again, and we have discussed this before. Coming up is a saxophone solo, and this one is divided into two sections as well. The first one is a bomba again. However, it's a variation on the one we had before, with a very catchy bell and drum part in there. I'd like to play it for you on the drums, and I'll play the timbale part in my left and the bell part obviously on my drum mambo bell here. You might want to play the bass drum on 1, 2, and 4. So we have the malfouf again, or you can say the bombo drum. However, think about the fact that it's a one-bar phrase, so there's no clave around. But I'll play 1, 2, and 4 on the bass drum, and I'll play, just for fun, the and or the 2 and 4 on the hi-hat, like this. On the track itself, I decided to play, instead of the cowbell, a hi-hat, and I added some ghost notes in an actual snare sound. I divided the malfouf rhythm, so to say, between my bass drum and my snare. Sounds like this. I'll do it slower first, and then I'll speed up the tempo. Now, before we listen to this particular groove within the musical context, let me just talk about the second half of the saxophone solo for a minute, because there's coming up even another style of music, this time from Cuba again. I guess you know that one. It's called Mozambique. Mozambique has been invented by Pedro el African in Cuba in the 60s and 70s. He was like a percussion player and composer, and has been made popular by Eddie Palmieri later on in New York. You can actually hear this influence of Latin music in Latin rock styles like Santana. We all know Late in the Evening by Paul Simon. Steve Gadd likes to play all kinds of great Mozambiques. Talking about Mozambique is not actually coming from the southeast state of Africa, Mozambique. There should just be like an association to Africa. We're talking about the two-bar phrase again, so there's a clave. It's 2-3 rumba clave. Interesting enough, the first half is actually like a cascara. There are different variations around, again, not the traditional ones I will play for you now, but the most popular for like a timbale idea. Now you can play this one on the drum set again. I subdivide the timbale part on the toms and play a bass drum and snare idea like this. Watch that we leave out the 1. However, we can play a 1 in the bass drum, and there's a little difference in the snare accents here. But as I said, there are so many great Mozambiques around. This is just an idea. So let's listen to these two different rhythms in the saxophone solo. Now it's time to pay tribute to one of my main teachers and influences. His name was Frank Malaby. He came from Puerto Rico and he lived in New York and played there with a lot of great musicians. I had the privilege to not only study with him, but also play some gigs with him. I'm saying that because many of these rhythms I'm showing you are actually highly influenced by Frank Malaby. Since he was not a drummer but a percussion player, he had a very special way of playing drums. He was always looking for sounds and, of course, invented new rhythms. For example, the part that's coming up now in the song, it's a bass solo. So I thinned out the orchestration and I'm playing the bomba and the cascara groove that we had before. I'm playing this in kind of a right-hand lead fashion, so the right hand plays the rhythmic melody and the left hand fills out. Frank Malaby was always looking for sounds, as I said, so he moved the right hand and also the left hand. And he played some overtones on the snare and muffled the snare. So even though my snare for this particular recording is slightly muffled, I was looking for these sounds. And I played the 2 and in the bass drum, so it's like the bombo note, and we get to the hi-hat finally. I played the clave and the cascara, and before that, the 1 and the 3 in the bomba rhythm. 1 and the 3 is always nice. Frank Malaby always told me, don't swing, man, and he meant the 2 and the 4. In certain musical contexts, it really works, 2 and 4. It's like a swing, actually. But if you play too much of offbeats here, because there's so much syncopation around, it makes the thing so nervous. So I actually stick with the 1 and 3, as opposed to play a clave. However, to play a clave in this particular part with the cascara, where there's less instrumentation, I think it works. Let me play it for you. The bomba rhythm first. With the hi-hat. I actually swished this one in this particular section. Now the cascara. Now we've made it. These were all the grooves. Many grooves in there, right? And I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. It nearly got out of hand because there's so much to say. And of course, we could go on and we could go more into depth because there is more to say. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and learn, listen, study, and just love the music. See you later. Bye-bye.